Next up, we have Vitaly from Qase. Qase is also a sponsor. You've already heard from him at the start. He's talking on dog fooding today. Vitaly represents Qase. He's flown in yesterday from Georgia, and he's got 22 years of experience, delivered over 40 talks across the globe. Let's see what does he have to say.
Hi everyone. Microphone. Works. Should be working. Anyway, I have a loud voice. Thank you for coming. I always dreamt to fly and visit India. That's my first time here. And thank you everyone. You're really welcoming and it's nice. Thank you. Thanks. So yeah, my talk is called Dogfooding, eating your own cooking for quality assurance. That's quite an interesting term. And first a few words about me. So yes, as you said, I have more than 22 years of experience. I've been doing JavaScript and backend development for 13 years. Then I went to engineering management and QA. I've been doing testing and helping companies make processes in terms of quality really properly. I was mentoring engineering managers, and for the last 2 years, I'm combining this all with developer advocacy. So I'm giving talks, writing articles. There is a blog, please visit. There are a few of my articles there. And I also really love animals. I help dog and cat shelters around the world, so they live a better life. Well, I talked about me. Could you please tell me if you're a developer? Raise your hand. Okay, just one developer. And raise your hand if you're a QA engineer. Okay, everyone, pretty much everyone. Raise your hand if you're a manager of any sort. And plenty of managers too, thank you. So we have everyone, and I believe that dogfooding as the practice applies to everyone in the company. So essentially the meaning of dogfooding is quite simple. It is a practice or approach or mindset where everyone in the company uses the product that the company is building. Some companies do, some companies for some strange reasons don't. And this talk is devoted to dogfooding because I believe that it is beneficial for every single company. First for quality and then for pride. I want to start with a few examples. I used to work for a bank, and the bank had an app, a mobile app, as pretty much every bank does. And in that app, there were usual services that bank app provide. Like you could apply for loans, you could apply for credit cards, so the credit cards will be delivered to you. You could do money transfers, see the transaction history, pretty much everything, very basic. And there was also one service, cashback credit cards. So you could fill in the form, and the courier will deliver you a credit card which can have cashback. So if you pay for something, you get some points. Very basic. And there was a problem, the product problem, that this particular service, cashback credit cards, wasn't popular. So the users barely use it. Pretty much none of the users use it. So the product managers, they came up with an idea, with a hypothesis, that maybe if we promote this cashback credit cards in the app, if we show the promotional pop-up advertising this thing to the users like 1 out of 10 times the user opens the app, he sees the promotional app. So product managers thought, okay, might be a good thing. So they went to development teams implemented the functionality, and the NPS score didn't grow. So the users weren't happier, the cashback service wasn't getting more popular. So then the product managers were starting to think, why the hell? So we promote it, it is there, it is working. QA team tested it thoroughly, so there was a long form, and they tested that every field works, you press the OK, everything works. And yet it didn't gain proper user traction. So they did a focus group with the users, with the live users. And the live users said, well, you the bank, you know everything about us. We are using your app. You know everything about us. Why do you have such a long form of 50 fields? So every single other competitor had just a button, give me cashback card, and that was it. So I'm showing with this example that if product managers were actually applying for cashback credit cards themselves, or if the development team was applying for cashback cards themselves, or the QA team was applying, if they were the users of this service, they would figure out that the service had problems. The form was too big. So the requirements were all right. The development team fulfilled all the requirements. QA team tested everything. And yet the whole thing was thrown away after some time. So later, after the focus group, they improved the service. They just one button. Another example is of my friend's previous place of work. He used to work for another bank. And they were noticing, the customer support team was noticing that there were so many calls to the phone line asking for very simple, very simple things like block my card, please, or change some details in my app, like very basic requests. And the manager of the customer support team, he said that they were overloaded with calls. And most of the calls were very simple requests. So the product managers came up with an idea to implement a chatbot. It was pre-AI times, so the chatbot was very simple, just scripted. If you see a certain pattern, do something. And the chatbot was implemented by the development team. Everything was fine. If users actually typed in block the card, chatbot confirmed with the users, and all worked fine. The NPS didn't grow. The customers weren't happier. The chatbot was working. All was okay. And so the problem here was that, again, after they did some decent investigation, the problem was that the guys and girls, the users, were calling the customer support. Because in rare cases, like 1 out of 100, the app crashed when it tried to block the card. So during the testing phase, this wasn't detected. So testers didn't press block the card 100 times, or didn't do something so often to see the bug. And so the users actually got used to seeing this problem. So they actually, it was easier for them to call the phone line to ask this simple request, rather than do it in the app. So once again here, if dogfooding was implemented as a practice, if product managers were using the app, if developers were using the app, if like on a daily basis, if QA engineers were using the app on a daily basis as normal users, chances are, the probability is higher that they would have noticed this particular scenario. And there is a great deal of history behind this approach. In 1980, Apple was developing their first Apple computer with Word app. Not as complicated as Microsoft Word is now, but still it worked. And at that time, most companies had typewriters, the mechanical machines. So Apple decided for them to actually understand how to build the Word app better, they needed to force everyone in the company. Well, this was the time when managers actually forced everyone. So they forced everyone to use the new Apple computer with the Word app. So they issued this mandate: no typewriters at Apple. We're only gonna use our app on our Apple computers. Another example of a company who uses dogfooding from the very start is 37 Signals. Does anyone know 37 Signals? Okay, so they have a quite popular in the US markets project management tool called Basecamp. Yeah, so this company does this project management tool, and they created this project management tool for themselves first. So they do software development, and they decided that they wanted to be the first users of that tool. If they are the first users, they understand what other project managers want quite well, because they are good project managers. So they combine those two worlds, the engineering world and the user world in many heads, but well, they combine them. Another case is our company. We started 5 years ago. Our CEO was writing our test management system for his colleagues, the QA engineers. He was also testing and he was developing. And we now use our tool to test our tool. And this is quite strange, but it works really well. So whenever we see that certain functionality, certain ideas coming from product manager, are weird, we talk to him. We tell him, well, you know, you are not the QA. Okay, we appreciate your ideas. You're not the QA. Let's talk again. Let's think better. If he insists, we then discuss. And for us, it works really well because we have almost zero bugs. We follow zero bug policy. Whenever an engineer sees something, they fix it straight away. We also come up with good product ideas, and our NPS is like ridiculously high. Our users love us. So I would say that we make Qase to help others test anything. So to recap, dogfooding is a practice of using your own products and services where you are the first user and you are the engineer. As I said, these two worlds are combined, and this helps with quality. So far, I talked about product companies. So there are essentially, as you know, two types of companies. Product companies and outsourcing or service companies. Service companies, they provide development team efforts to others, like Luxoft does, for example. Thank you for that. With outsourcing companies, the process is quite different. Requirements, but when you have a contract, requirements are prepared in most cases up front. You can't come to your client and say, well, you're proposing some bad stuff, let's not do it. You either have the contract and then fulfill the requirements, or you don't. So we can't say you're solving the wrong problem. You can't. You just have to solve the problem they came to you to solve. So my thesis here is that dogfooding helps even in this scenario. I believe that knowing something is both engineering and using this particular tool or app or whatever. And to illustrate that, I want to play a little game. I want to invite a volunteer on stage, a volunteer who rides a bicycle. And I want to ask the person to draw a bicycle on my iPad. Does anyone want to join? Just 1 minute. Please. Yeah? Good, thank you. Now we have this. Thank you. What is your name? Mine. Nice to meet you. Thank you. So don't worry, just draw it. I won't mock you, I won't do anything. You just need to illustrate. Yes, please. So we have like 1 minute. Can anyone tell us when the 1 minute ends, please? Cheers. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. And the pedals, right? The pedals here. Can I ask you a question? Do you assemble the bike yourself? Do you fix it? But you're an engineer. So this is what, thank you so much. You can take a seat. Thank you. So what I am trying to illustrate here is that a proper engineer who also uses the bicycle, he knows how to draw it. If if he wasn't an engineer, he wouldn't be able to draw it. Let me just show you one thing. This is fun. Where is it? Yeah, here. This is the bicycle that a non-engineer draws. A chain goes to the first wheel. User knows how to use the thing. An engineer knows how to build it, assemble it, or do something with it. And if I ask you, the engineer, and use the user, how can we save money on a bicycle you draw? You could say, okay, first, as a user, I drive it on the road only, or in the mountains only. So we can't save on brakes, let's say, or we can save on something else. Or, which is more interestingly, if you are building the bike, and we are heading towards a deadline, and we don't have enough time, if you are the user, you would know what, from the user perspective, we can save on. And if you work for an outsourcing company, your communication with the client takes time. So sometimes it might be beneficial for you to use the product to understand it better from the user perspective, so you can save on something, deliver it, and then do something in the next iteration. So I tried to illustrate that when you have two worlds in your head, the user and the engineer, you understand the client better. And additionally, you speak to the client under like the same words. Because if you are the bike user, you come to a bike shop, you know how to talk to the engineers. And the engineers know how to talk to you. And they, pretty much all of them, ride bicycles too. And what I also want to say is, okay, let's recap. Dogfooding practice of using your services and products. In this particular example, if you ride it, you are the user. If you assemble, you are the engineer. You understand the requirements better, and you know how to better implement them. Cheaper, faster, better, whatever. My thesis stands. Knowing is engineering and using. And another very important thing that I believe is rarely thought about is pride. We are social animals. We evolved in groups. We need appreciation from others. When I tell my daughter, I work for a company which helps people, I believe it. And I'm proud to say that we're building a great product which helps others do something. If I worked for, I'm not sure, I wouldn't work for a drug company or arms company, like for a company where my mission, my ideas don't match the company. So for me, it's very important, and I believe it's for everyone, it's important to be proud of our work. Of course, it's not always the case. I used to work for the companies when I was younger, when I had less experience, and I wasn't proud of what we were doing. But what is important here, if you work for a company where your mission matches the company mission, it's very good to be proud of the tool, of the products you're building, because it motivates us. We go with the friends, meet the friends, and I tell them, our product rocks, I love it. And next morning I wake up with a smile, because I had recognition from them. They told me, yeah, your product actually is quite good. We use it and we like it. And so we are proud of good work. And as I illustrated, I think, Dogfooding helps with that, because we are the users. We know we didn't allow critical bad stuff in our product. We know that when we save money on engineering, we do it clearly and rationally. We don't just remove the brakes from the bike and, well, go have a failure on the road. So Dogfooding, I believe, helps with the pride and with the quality. Quality, by the definition from ISO 9000 and ISO 25000, is essentially a match between what is desired and what is produced. And so, knowing what is desired is where Dogfooding helps. We all engineers, we all know how to produce stuff when we understand it. And Dogfooding helps with pretty much everything I talked about. And that is all. Thank you so much. There are my contacts. Any questions? Yes, please.
So don't you think it's a biased one? Because the developer itself
Sorry, can you wait for the microphone? Thank you.
Yeah. So don't you think it's biased because the developer itself is testing the same?
I'm not talking, thank you for the question. The question is when developer tests yourself, he's biased, right? Of course, when a developer tests his own code, he is biased. But I'm talking not only about testing. I'm talking more about understanding what the user wants. So if you are the user of the app, you understand the users better. That is what I'm talking about. And I fully agree with you that developers have pretty much different mindset from QA engineers. When we are developing something, we are focused on delivering something working as we understand it should work. QA engineers, on the other hand, will test the bike, let's say. They will drop it, they will ride it sideways, they will do pretty much all the crazy stuff possible, negative, edge case, whatever. They will hit it in the wall and see if the person dies or not. That's the proper QA will test pretty much everything. So I believe that any healthy team should consist both of engineers, developers, and QA engineers. So then they can combine those worlds. But once again, if they use the product on a daily basis, so if you are producing bicycles, ride them. Then you will be more proud, and then the quality will be better, because you understand others better. Thank you.
Any other questions? Right at the front.
have a lot of jogging today.
Thank you, Vitaly, for nice concept.
Thank you.
It added a new word to my vocabulary, dogfooding.
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting. The origin of the term is thought to be that there was one company producing dog food, the bags and everything. And it was rumored that the CEO of the company actually tried every single dog food he was producing. I'm not sure if it is just a marketing message or if it's true. But then when journalists saw that, they said, oh, he was dog fooding. Okay.
And coming to my question,
Yes.
one of the challenge with this concept which is in my mind is about the scaling.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts on scaling? So, as a tester, I will be on a very less scale, and when a customer goes, that goes to a bigger scale. What are your thoughts on mixing those two?
Thank you. Do I understand by scaling you mean the amount of effort we put in that?
No, I mean, as a user, when I
Yes.
test it, I have a lesser kind of a load, and when it goes to customer, it goes to bigger load and bigger
Yes.
scenarios.
Thank you. That is why I believe that when we work in a company, like we have only 35 people and some contractors. So everyone in the company, even the customer support and marketing, they use our products. And so we see it from different perspectives. If your company is big, if it's, let's say, there is 1,000 employees building a product, the variety of testing, of user testing, is huge. Because if you have, let's say, customer support or like anyone in the marketing department, accounts, using your product, then maybe they will notice something which is relevant to that target audience. And so it kind of scales. It's not scaling really, really well, but it kind of scales. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
That will be the last question.
Yeah, thank you so much for the session. It is very good. I mean, if you think about, but practically implementing it, don't you think it can be a little challenging because sometimes the audience is from other countries, like when we outsource people and people are from different countries who are actually working, and the kind of comfort they would see in that product might not match with the audience they would be having. So that can create a pressure on the team to do a multiple reworks because they can project some ideas which would need multiple communications, and after that it has to be agreed upon, and it might not work for that audience even if it is agreed.
Thank you so much for your comment. This is a very good comment. I would like to recommend a book called Culture Works. It's a very interesting book on essentially culturology, where different cultures are studied. And so, for sure, if our product, let's say, is built for Japan, where the culture is very different from Europe, we would need some consultancy there. So our dogfooding efforts would be limited in benefit if we target Japan. That is for sure. So this is absolutely right. There are limits to applicability of pretty much any tool. But if you're building something for the local market, where users of the tool resemble you, then it's easy. Then it's just easy. If you're building for a market which is somewhat similar, dogfooding is less important, less beneficial. If you're building it for the aliens from Mars, of course, you should be using their services in testing rather than yours. Thank you. Yes.
We'd have to stop here. Any other questions? Vitaly will be outside at his booth. Qase has a booth, and Vitaly, if you could please stay up and.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.